So God, if God exists, he is immaterial. And because he's immaterial, he's not made up of many material parts. So he's not complex. Okay? Well, God, to go further, uh, God is traditionally conceived, and there is some debate on this today, but God has traditionally been conceived of as being simple, not having any parts. But even if that is not correct, God has no material parts, which seems to be what Richard Dawkins is using in his argument. Who designed the designer? Well, there's no material design. There's no material, electrons, protons, neutrons, to be arranged in a designed way in God. So that third point he's making, who designed the designer, um, is vacuous. So the argument as a whole of his book, The God Delusion, collapses. Okay, it's unsound. But let's look at some of the other points he's making here on pages 157 and 158. Uh, the other points that I wanted to address, these other 5 points, they're not necessarily false, but each one of them we could say some things about that could perhaps, even though the premises themselves aren't necessarily wrong, fallacious, um, it contributes to our doubt. It increases our doubt to the cogency of the argument as a whole if we spend some time thinking about them. Okay, the first point that he makes, to repeat what I was saying earlier, and again, this is a direct quote from the book on page 157 and 158. The first point, he says, one of the greatest challenges to the human intellect has been to explain how the complex, improbable appearance of design in the universe arises. Okay, again, that's not a false statement in and of itself, but I think there are some problems with it as it's being used here, and let me explain what I mean. Dawkins himself is saying that the universe is complex. It really does look like it was designed by a designer, an intelligent designer. And in the absence of an intelligent designer, for the universe to be this way that it is highly improbable. So he's saying this out of one side of his mouth, and then out of the other side of his mouth, he will say that people who believe in God, perhaps on the basis of the design argument, the teleological argument for the existence of God, are complete and total idiots. Okay, now that's he really does go to great pains to say how silly those of us who believe in God are for believing in God. But yet he's admitting here that it is improbable, it's complex, it looks like it was designed, our world. And then under the next point, he says that the natural temptation is to attribute the appearance of design to actual design itself. So he's saying that all of us stupid people, okay, don't we? It's perfectly natural for us to be so deceived and in the dark. Well, why are we so stupid if it really does look like there was design? So he would say it's just an appearance, but it's a reasonable conclusion to go from the appearance to the actuality, which he would deny that it's actual design, of course, but it's a bit disingenuous, because if we have, every right to suppose that this may have been explained by God, the apparent design in the universe, then why are we total fools for believing it was so? We're not as enlightened as Dawkins, apparently. Okay, so he's being a little bit contradictory there, I think. Um, the fourth point, the most ingenious and powerful explanation of this apparent design is Darwinian evolution by natural selection. Now, this statement is particularly problematic. Again, I'm not saying it's false, okay, but it seems that the idea here, um, perhaps included in that statement, is the idea that if we have a natural explanation of a phenomenon, then we necessarily do not have and cannot have a supernatural explanation. And that is patently false. So whether that's what Dawkins means to imply or not, if that's what he means to be saying, or if he believes that, then that is false. If we could be with the Israelites in the suppose in the Old Testament is historically reliable, and we go with the Israelites, they come up to they're on the Exodus, they're leaving Egypt, they come up to the Red Sea, and what happens? The wind starts to blow. It blows the Red Sea apart. The Israelites cross, and then when the Egyptians try to follow after them, the wind stops, and they're drowned in the water. Okay, if we were meteorologists, we could describe what was happening with the laws of climatology or physics or what have you. The wind and the waves were obeying the laws of science. We have a natural explanation. But if we ask, where did this wind come from? Who sent the wind? Why did it occur just at that time? We still, even though we have a natural explanation, we still have a miracle. Okay, God was using natural means to achieve his desired miraculous purposes. So having a natural explanation does not in and of itself preclude the possibility of a supernatural explanation. Okay, you have the natural explanation on one level, but above that you have the supernatural explanation. Okay, that's a very important point that sometimes naturalists, materialists, don't seem to appreciate. You can have a natural explanation, but there can be behind that natural explanation there can be a supernatural explanation. Okay, the next point he makes is he says we don't have an equivalent explanation in physics. Okay, so he's admitting his ignorance here, and I think that's significant. We have a little small piece of, so far as we know, only Earth has biological life on it, for sure. So we've got all of the world seems to be designed, and this little tiny part of it we can explain with Darwinism. But everything outside of that, all of non-biological reality, we don't have an explanation, and Dawkins admits that, and that's where we'll pick it up next time.